Hello, my name is Seth Kolb, and welcome to my Data Serialization Formats in Java Tips and Techniques presentation. Data formats follow rules to how they will be read, interpreted, and used. This is important to make files readable and have manipulatable data between humans and machines. Serialization will save data by converting from an object to bytes to a machine-readable file. Deserialization will break down data by converting from bytes to an object to unpack or load information from a file. Here are some example images of the structures of these data file types. JSON, which is called JavaScript Object Notation, which was originally created for JavaScript. It is widely used for web applications and RESTful APIs. JSON stores using keys like dictionary logic. CSV, comma separated values, is a simple tabular format structure which works well for spreadsheets and simple data sheets. CSV is limited to rows, unlike JSON and XML, which use nested structures. XML, Extensible Markup Language, has a tag-like structure that's similar to HTML. This works well in like an enterprise or enterprise-like system or data model. JSON is considered to be a lightweight format and allows complex and nested data structures. It is more complex than CSV and requires a library to process JSON. CSV is easy to configure but falls short on not having a complex structure, but it is a lighter data format than JSON. XML has a lot allows more control and complexity. Also, XML allows more compatibility since it's older. It has stability for a more complex and richer data structure than JSON. Though JSON is quicker at parsing and a smaller data size than XML. Here are some JSON libraries for Java. Jackson is a very feature-rich library and the most heaviest out of them. JSON.Simple is a lightweight library. It might not be as feature-rich as the others. For this library, I'll be using for my demonstration. JSON is Google's implementation of JSON, and JSON-P is Oracle's implementation of JSON. In this demonstration, I'll be creating my project. Before loading up my example that we'll be implementing our JSON saving and loading system inside of, I'll show you how to install JSON.Simple, install this to your IDE. I installed JSON.Simple from the Google Archive, and this is my example of installing your JSON.Simple library to IntelliJ. So, a quick overview of the demonstration class code is that we have a main class for our text-based game. At the start, it will ask you to start a new game or load from it. For now, the only difference for starting the game is that it will prompt the user to add the name of the player before entering game function. Also, the player class only has setters and getters. for the player name and gold value, and a constructor for default values, and a toString function where we will be displaying the player's data into the console inside of our game loop. I will be creating a savable interface for the saving system of just using a reference for the player class, because this will create a more modular system and unhook references of our classes from the save and load data. Inside of the savable interface, we will implement two JSON function that will handle saving our data keys, implementing to our JSON file. From JSON function that will pull the data keys from the JSON file to set the values. Getting also get class save key, which will save the class key that will be referencing inside the getter data keys inside of our class. Let's make the player class implement our savable interface using control period to generate our needed functions. I prefer to set these values as constant strings to make make the values just to cut down on references for our data keys and keep it clean. We have to make we make the player info our class key. Then we have the player's name and gold data keys that we will put inside of our JSON functions. Saving using our values from our getter to save our keys. Loading and converting our values to read as a string or int to pass our setter's validation. Now we can create the game data file. This will this is how we will process our saving and loading for our JSON data we have set up. First, I will create a JSON file inside of the project, naming it game save with the .json format, and reference the directory inside of the file name variable. It might be more suitable to name it file path. I created a get save function that we can grab the file name inside of the game class for game function, so we can cut down the hard string references and make it easier to change making it easier to change what file we're using in the future if we need. Inside, if the saving inside the save function, we can create a reference to the file. Also, I incorrectly wrote inside of the save function with the reader and parsing data, so I will move this to the loading function after I set up the savable interface logic. Inside of the for loop, we will grab the class key and save all of the values inside the JSON function. This is modular enough that we will save the savable classes, only the savable classes that are passed through. So this will only grab the data that we need. Since I am ready to set up the writer in my save function, I'm going to pull the reader and create a load function into it. Now, what's left is for the saving functionality is to set the file writer inside of our try catch. And if If it passes the try catch, it will go and write into our file. I also will set up some debugs to show you what is going on while in the console while saving. Now, since we have the file reader set up for our loading functionality to make it easier for the data, and have the parser making it for the data easier to read, we are going to have a for loop for receivable data that we pass into our load data, and check our class keys to see if the class from the class we have that we have passed in, to see if it's not null, and it will load our data. For the reader and parse error, I forgot to add the catch in the try catch for the file reader. The game data should be set up now. Let's go to the main class and set up our save and load functionality. We have the parameter of the savable objects that can be passed through and use the save file path set up in our game data for our saving and loading. You should save an object whenever you need to update a value. I load the file at the beginning for the player when I create my object, and I write the read as a array to allow multiple parameters as you want to load or save later on. And now we can test the JSON file. At first I thought the saving wasn't working, but it took a second for it to save after quitting. And I fixed the directory back to source/game save JSON. Now I am able to display my player information with my toString, since my player values are updated from the saving and loading. Here are some resources that helped me to make this video and that I found. And thank you for watching this video, and hopefully this helped you to learn data serialization in JSON in Java.